Good evening, viewers. I'm Zerlina Smith. I am your host of our Family Focused program, Mothers Who Care, a founding member. I'm here tonight to actually talk about a lot of great things that are going on the west side of Chicago. We have one of our guests here tonight, Paul Sakol, who is an Oak Parker. We have Joanne Terrell, which is a founding member of Mothers Who Care, and it is an entity of Increase the Harvest, which is a 501c3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce them, and I'm going to let them both give you a brief synopsis of who they are and what do they do, and then we're going to go into the questions as to what work we will be continuing to do over the fall and the winter. Okay, so Paul, here's your floor.
I'm Paul Sakol. I'm a semi-retired but very busy social worker at LCSW. I've run the Blue Gargoyle in Hyde Park, and I'm a therapist. I have a partner, Hilda, and 3 daughters and 7 grandchildren.
Ooh, he has a lot going on, right? 7 grandchildren. Okay, Joanne, you next.
Yes, good evening. My name is Joanne Terrell, and I am a community activist. I have been in the Austin community for the past 29 years, and I look forward to serving you.
Okay. So we actually are doing something different today for the Mothers Who Care piece. What we need to do is start utilizing more of our resources. When you think about what's going on in your community, how many people are really informed? And I do apologize for doing a backup as to what we've been doing and how we're going to continue to do the work. So I want Miss Joanne to start off with, 1 or 2 programs that might be going on that might be helpful to our viewers, their children, and the family component as to the west side of Chicago.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the most current. I'm always listening for opportunities. So as recent as this morning, en route to work, I heard on AM 1390, today is Thursday, October the 11th, at 2 to 6 p.m., they're going to have a job informational session about the Obama Library. So I know it's short notice, but I just found out about it, but that's the way I am. Once I find out information, I get it out as soon as possible. But during the interim, I do attend regular meetings.
Community meetings, right?
Yes, regular community meetings. At least 4 faith-based meetings a month. The first Tuesday of the month, 15th District has their faith-based meeting.
At what time?
From 10 to noon at their facility, which is on Madison in Austin. The following day, I have a board meeting with Fathers Who Care at noon to 2. The following Thursday, we have Westside Ministers Coalition meets at Columbus Park from 10 to noon. And all those places are a wealth of information. And as a special outreach we did, Zerlina and I went to Statesville because
I know you could just hold that one.
Okay.
We'll hold off that. That's going to be something that we talk about in our closing. So I'm going to let Paul tell you some of the great things that are going on in Oak Park. Now remember, people, Oak Park is a neighbor to Austin. And Paul comes to Austin to do a lot of things. He and his partner just are some amazing people and very, very active, not just in Oak Park or Austin, but around the city of Chicago. So let's let him tell us what he has going on, and we see how we can continue to partner and how we can get these individuals who don't have the information in their hand, if they're looking for something to be a part of that's really meaningful and that can help them.
One outfit is called the Democratic Socialists of America. It is not a political party. People have different ideas, but essentially it's Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
And it's essentially the New Deal. And one thing we've done lately is we have had a brake lights group where we fixed, on the border of Oak Park and Austin, we fixed 30 cars' brake lights. And the reason this is useful is because if a white person gets stopped often they just get told to go get their brake lights. If a black person is stopped, it's often that they search their car, they may be arrested. So this was definitely a small but very valuable service that we did.
So did you take this up with city council?
No,
How did you enforce this?
we just advertised,
Just advertise?
and we got 30 cars coming out. We were at the corner of North Avenue in Austin.
Okay.
There's a lot there. Also, Democratic Socialists are working on Medicare for All and lots of other programs, and it's a national group. And in Chicago, there are 3 groups, and we're part of the West Cook group, which includes Austin and Oak Park and other suburbs near there. Another thing that we're doing in Oak Park is called VOICE. And VOICE stands for, as an acronym, V is for voice, O is for openness, I is for inclusion, C is for community, and E is for environment. And right now what we're doing is we're going to be vetting 3 candidates to run for the Board of Trustees in Oak Park in April. And we have a set of principles. Basically, we feel that there is not enough openness, there is not enough transparency, there's not enough focus on race. So we have a statement of principles, which I'll read you briefly. First principle, we will build a transparent and democratic government in which the people of our village will decide the future of Oak Park. We will fulfill the promise of our reputation as a truly equitable community. And one of the things that means is that we want to ensure that every decision made by the village is viewed through a lens of racial equity and inclusion and represents the interests of LGBTQ, elderly, disabled, undocumented, and disadvantaged members of our community. The third principle, we will advance policies that support the economic diversity of our community, which include homeowners, renters, and local businesses. And fourth, we will advocate development that respects the unique character of the village, its neighborhoods, and its environment. So within the next couple weeks, we are interviewing candidates, and then we will endorse 3 candidates.
Okay, so now you got a little familiar with the retiree of Oak Park. When you think about racial inequalities, we have to also remember that a lot of our communities are divided by income and the color of your skin. When you think of Oak Park, most people don't tend to think Oak Park has those racial barriers, but it does. And Oak Park is a neighbor, excuse me, of ours. And when you think about the fabulous work that they were doing, talking just about the brake lights, fixing the brake lights, who does that when they know that African Americans will be profiled if they're stopped due to a light bulb being out because of whatever it is they might not have known? I know if my light bulb is out, I don't know from the rear, because unless there's a light in my car that indicates and tells me. But when you take initiative to help and be a part and be engaged and be involved in the things that's going on in your community, it makes a big difference. And like what Miss Joanne just stated as well, we go to a lot of community meetings just to take the resources back to the streets. When you think of Increase the Harvest, you have to think of an organization that was built from 2015, me being a former 29th Ward candidate. I now am at a point where we can say that we've been out feeding the community and we've been out doing a lot of things that is pretty much a family component. You think about our ministers, you think about our children, you think about our non-for-profits, you think about our elected officials. You have to think about every component when it comes to the resources we need, because right now when you think of the African American community, you have to think that it looks like a vision of somewhere that I know I don't want to live, and I know I don't want to raise my child. But when you have those choices and those options to what did they call it, the flight out of a community, instead of trying to engage and get to know what's going on in your community. It's easy for you to run when we do have a lot of great things to offer, but it takes a team to get this work done. Joanne has to be tirelessly doing her work, being a mother, being a tutor for free to our children, being a mentor to me and many other young mothers. And I consider myself young, yes I do. And then you have Paul, who comes to the Austin community. They don't just vet candidates for Oak Park. And I've been to a lot of those Oak Park meetings because Paul has invited me. When you think of the things that go on in Oak Park, you'd be surprised if you really knew what was going on in Oak Park. You have a lot of like-minded individuals who really believe in real economic development, believe in affordable housing, believe in pride in home ownership, believe in making sure that education is at the top and the forefront, not just for those Oak Park children, but for those children of Austin, because Paul has been on picket lines and organized, as he stated. What is it? S is DSA, the Socialist Democrat.
Democratic Socialists of America.
Democratic Socialists of America. And we also have a political entity, which is WDFA, West Side Democracy for America Accountability Chapter. So we work co-in-hand. When they endorse a candidate, we do our research, and we go behind them because we want to make sure that we have representation across the board when it comes to issues. And our issues are the same. Our issues are the same. And we're going to make sure that we continue to work together and provide those resources to people who honestly just don't have the time to get to a meeting or just don't know where that meeting's at. So Paul,
That's excellent.
And Paul, once again, he told you the 3 principles of the people that they want to endorse and they want to support. So even if you don't live in Oak Park, attend some of those meetings, because a lot of things that go on in Oak Park might not affect us, but a lot of things that go on in Austin does affect Oak Park. Because Austin, I know as an Austin resident, I shop in Oak Park, I eat in Oak Park, I hang out in Oak Park, because we don't have that economic development. Our leadership does not have the willpower, our elected leadership does not have the willpower to make that a reality. So get to know your neighbors, and as a mother, make sure that you have those resources and you build those relationships with the people across the borderlines, because I just found out that they even did a tail light fix because communities of color were being stopped because of their brake lights being out, and Caucasians were just getting a pass. So I want to thank you for that first and foremost, and then just tell us what other stuff is going on in Oak Park before the snow hits the ground that we want to inform people to attend.
Well, there is a breakout group which deals with racism for all of the 3 chapters of Democratic Socialists in Chicago, and we meet once a month. One thing we've done is we've gone to the Gary Airport to protest the fact that people from Chicago are being deported through the Gary Airport.
Oh, wow.
Even though supposedly Chicago is a welcoming city.
A sanctuary city.
Sanctuary city, which is totally against what a sanctuary city believes.
Exactly.
So that's one thing. I think we're going to do more of that. There was a rally in the northwest section of Chicago because some Nazis had been showing up. So there was a barbecue. We weren't able to go, but I think it was successful. So, and there's an electoral committee, and they have been busy supporting people who are running for alderman. I'm sure they'll take a position on the mayor's race. Okay. So those are the kind of things that are going on.
And you see, Oak Parkers are very involved in their electoral process. So how do we get our people in the Austin community to realize that the vote is power, and we elect them to represent us, right? So we need to make sure that they do it to our interest and not their own. So let's hear what Joanne has to say, and we're gonna just keep it moving.
Well, I wanted to recommend 4 other resources if you're interested in what's going on in Austin. We have 4 newspapers: the Austin Voice, the Austin Weekly, the North Lawndale Community News, and the Windy City Word. And I did bring a copy of this Black Pagers. Again, I like to have something tangible to look at and go back to. And speaking of the Windy City Word, they just happen to have a free after-school program.
See? And
It's
where can
called
they
Youth
pick up
Care.
the Black Pages?
I picked this up from Sankofa on Chicago Avenue. That's a resource facility. It's owned by who?
I don't know.
Anyway, you can have, matter of fact, when I was at the West Side, a meeting there on Saturday, they just happened to have copies. So I picked it up, and like I said, my eyes and ears are always open for opportunity. So, as I said before, it's important to find reliable resources. I mean, you could get resources, but if they're not reliable, they're worthless. But these are 4 good resources, matter of fact 5 with the Black Pages.
And I'm telling you, I've never even seen the Black Pages. So, and the best thing that I heard yesterday, I was at a Southside meeting. The Crusader is coming back. So make sure, if you're not familiar with a lot of these great local newspapers, small newspapers, start just looking around and picking them up, because they have a lot of resources in them. And I know one thing for sure and one thing for certain, that they are reasonable to advertise. So if you're thinking about advertising your small home base, whatever type of business, or just advertising yourself, look to your local newspapers. And believe it or not, a lot of people read them. And we just want to say that a lot of stuff is going on. And how do we continue to be effective? Joanne wanted to talk about us visiting Statefield Correctional Facility with Representative LaShawn K. Ford of the 8th District. So how was that trip for you?
Well, it was definitely enlightening, and I just want to be a part with working with the youth. As a matter of fact, I went up to Orr High School, and I want to work with their LSC, because since the youth are our future, it's important to catch them before they get out into the world.
Okay. And on that trip, it was actually a very cold, rainy day. At Increase the Harvest, and another big component of Mothers Who Care, we do civic training. We do whatever it is that we need to do to make everyone aware of voter advocacy, voter rights. We use whatever resources we can find. We know that we've lately had a very high influx of homeless people coming through the west side of Chicago, because now AM, PM, you see them standing on the sides of our roads, our expressways. And how do we help those individuals? And first of all, we have to figure out where they come from, because we know that they came from somewhere. I know that, every Thursday we take food to them at 7 p.m. We ride up and down the corridors from Laramie, Cicero, in Central, from Roosevelt both ways to, I believe across the expressway, because that's where they stand at. Right. So wherever that expressway tunnel's at, that's where we kind of tend to go and take hot food to them. And they actually sleep at the one on Laramie. I didn't even know that they were actually sleeping there until my daughter pointed it out last night. It had to be like over 30 people under the expressway thing.
Wow.
And that's one place that's Central too. They sleep at.
And they sleep on Central too. So, let's just look into our hearts this season and figure out what it is our community really needs. I know we need affordable housing. Oak Park has a housing issue right now where what are they doing over there with them apartments?
Well, the new apartments seem quite overpriced for a balanced community.
Okay. And see, and they have development going on, but the community doesn't want that development. We need to figure out, how do we hold our seasoned politicians who have been held unaccountable for so long to bring us some affordable housing, to bring us...
But I just wanted to mention, they just broke ground for new moms in Oak Parks.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. But why are we not breaking ground for organizations that already exist
Like
in the Austin
veterans
community?
and returning citizens.
Now you hear that, right? She's talking about returning citizens. I apologize. We have so many issues in Austin, but who do we turn to when you have 98% of return ex-offenders to the Austin community who are either coming back to a situation that mirrors what they left, or coming back to a situation that's worse, with low unemployment, no economic willpower at all to develop our communities, and we are living in a mental hostage environment. And how do you move these cars? How do you move these cars without gas? And Paul and Joanne are some of the best people who you can reach out to. So I suggest that you give your number out, you or emails, or however you want to do it, so people can contact you, and maybe they want to get a part of be a part of your organization because they live in Austin, or just come there just to get some information. And Joanne, you as well. If they can't make it to a meeting, at least they can email you or call you or whatever it is you want, that you can shoot out mass texts. So whatever, let's just figure out how we can work this out. Say your emails, your number if you like. And if not, you can always find me at ZerlinaSmith32@gmail.com, and my cell phone number. And yes, I always give out my cell phone number because my actual business number, I keep it with me, but I don't answer it. So you can reach me at 312-487-9274. And we are boots on the ground. It's a village of us. It's a village of us. I chair multiple organizations with multiple members. Paul, multiple members of multiple organizations. Joanne is a part of everything. So whatever information you want to give out, give out.
Yeah. My name is Paul Sakol, Sakol. I just want to thank Zerlina for having invited me to this, and I really feel like we need to continue to work together in more and better ways. My email is paul.sakol, Sakol, @gmail.com, and my phone number is 708-383-2336, and it's been a pleasure to be on the show.
Thank you. Joanne?
Okay, my turn. I am Miss Joanne. My cell number is 773-431-6030. The best email to reach me at is Elizabeth Terrell, 3, @gmail.com. And I strongly suggest that you use either one of those contacts, because as we were talking, I know of at least 3 organizations that will pick you up and take you to work, even if you're an ex-offender. And all you have to do is show a social security card and one piece of ID. They don't ask you about past jobs, why you got arrested. None of that. It's not important.
See? So we're going to make it work. We are a village of people who are just working to make sure that we can be that hub, that component, to do the things that we pay people to represent us to do. And we do it all out of our retirees' free time. We do it all out of the just overwhelmed community advocate and activist me, and all out of the community meeting queen, Miss Joanne, who don't miss a meeting and works a full-time job.
I'm on my lunch now.
And on her lunch to come do this show. So when you think about the vision of your community, think about, is it the vision that you want to see? Because if it's not, contact somebody. It doesn't have to be us. Go somewhere and ask why. Whether it's your church, your home church, a visiting church, whatever. Go somewhere and say, if you here and you are getting something to help our community, I'm going to hold you accountable to do it. Okay? So let's make this a beautiful, safe fall and winter. And we here if you need anything. Good night.